Are you serious? Are you serious? Fukushima? I thought we were done with this radiation and toxic water and no. But no, we're not. We're not even close to being done. It's just, are you serious? Guys, let's put a shout out right now. Let me just tell you something. Urgent, urgent, urgent. Japan has just announced they're going to release millions of gallons of Fukushima radiation toxic water into the Pacific Ocean. Let me tell you all about it here in just a second, but first let's put a shout out right now for www.healthwithpaul.com. That's www.healthwithpaul.com. Guys, seriously, help combat this visible signs of aging with the #1 collagen supplement for sagging skin and wrinkles. Yes, it's at www.healthwithpaul.com. Click on the link below in the description. Thick skin is for more than just protecting you against hurtful words. Okay? You got to have some thick skin. I'm serious. In this world, it also helps keep you looking young, because aging turns our skin from thick and supple to thin and less elasticity. So help fight the wrinkles and the sagging skin with multi-collagen. That's www.healthwithpaul.com. Multi-collagen, which uses 5 different types of collagen. None of it is human collagen. No! But plant, egg, and fish collagen helps improve skin texture, hydration, skin elasticity, and it made with the top 5 most critically researched types of collagen that support your skin against wrinkles and that sagging skin. Get a bag of it for 51% off and receive several free bonuses too. Now you got to do this. You got to simply go right now to that link below. It's in my description. That's www.healthwithpaul.com. That's www.healthwithpaul.com. You'll be glad that you did. All right, now let's talk about what's going on here with this situation with the Fukushima. Behind me, you're looking at actually the Fukushima. See those tanks filled with millions of gallons of toxic waste, and they're full. They have no more room left. They've got to do something, and here's their plan. Well, let's go to the article. In the Pacific, outcry over Japan's plan to release the Fukushima wastewater. Every day at Fukushima nuclear plant in Japan, officials flush over hundreds of tons of water through its corroded reactors to keep them cool after this calamity meltdown that happened after that big earthquake on March 11th, 2011. Then the highly radioactive water is pumped into hundreds of white and blue storage tanks that form a maze-like array around the plant. For the last decade, that's where the water has stayed. But with more than 1.3 million tons in the tanks, Japan is running out of room. So next year, in the spring, in 2023, it plans to begin releasing the water into the Pacific Ocean after treatment for most radioactive particles has been done elsewhere, just like it's been done in other places. But it doesn't get all the radiation out of the water. The Japanese government is saying there is no feasible alternative. They have pledged to carry out the release with close attention to safety standards, whatever that means. And the plan has been endorsed by the United Nations nuclear watchdog. But the approach is increasingly alarming. Japan's neighbors, those in the South Pacific, who have suffered for decades from the fallout of the U.S. nuclear test in the Marshall Islands, are particularly skeptical of the promises of safety. Last month, a group representing more than a dozen countries in the Pacific, including Australia and the Marshall Islands, have urged Tokyo to defer this wastewater release. Please, they're saying, don't release it. No, just build more of these tanks to store it. Don't release it. But Japan is poised to forge ahead, even as it risks alienating the entire region it has tried in recent years to cultivate. Nuclear testing in the Pacific was shrouded in this veil of lies. by the United States. And now the anti-nuclear activists from the Marshall Islands are saying the trust is really not there. Much of the mistrust is rooted in the unlikeliest of events. Back in 1954, snow fell on a tropical atoll of Rongelap. Residents of the reef in the Marshall Islands had never seen such a thing, snow. Children played in it, some ate it, and 2 days later, U.S. soldiers arrived to tell them the snow was actually fallout from the Americans' largest nuclear test, which took place on a nearby Bikini Atoll and eradicated Rongelap after an unexpected change in wind direction. In the test aftermath, hundreds of people suffered intense radiation exposure, leading to skin burns, pregnancy complications, miscarriages, sterilization, and decades later, people of the Marshall Islands still feel its impact through forced relocations. They lost land, heightened cancer rates. You feel this deep sorrow. Why were we not good enough to be treated like human beings? It's a great question, isn't it? The people of the Marshall Islands, they were not the only ones affected. 23 Japanese fishermen were sailing near Rongelap at the time and all suffered intense radiation sickness. One of those died 6 months later after the result. Their exposure led to Japan's first large anti-nuclear protest. The whole anti-nuclear movement here in Japan came from a huge public mass actions after the Bikini testing. And in the anti-nuclear organizers at Japanese activist group called Peace Boat. So Japan, who really was against this nuclear situation, you have to understand the atom bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You have this nuclear testing in the Marshall Islands, all this disastrous fallout on the people and on the fish, and all the folks that ended up really suffering. It really was bad. Okay. Well, now Japan then decided to go into nuclear energy, and they made quite a few. They built quite a few nuclear power plants, and of course they built them right along a fault line, one of the most volatile fault lines in the South Pacific. And the one happened on, of course, March 11th, 2011, when that 9.1 earthquake not only shook the entire island of Japan and sent a tsunami raging into the island, killing 26,000 people. It also crippled and caused 6 nuclear reactors to melt down at Fukushima. And so we're still dealing with this. A dozen years later, we're still dealing with the aftermath of the radiation. It's a sad thing. And I tell you, there's a lot of nuclear plants that are out there all over the world. And a lot of them are sitting on coastal areas and on fault lines, which doesn't make any sense, but it really has happened. So a lot of prayers going out. I just want to make everybody aware of it. If you're living anywhere in Japan, or if you're living anywhere in the Pacific, out in the Pacific, any of these island nations and any of these folks out there, and also be aware of that the food, that the fish, the effects of this in long term does affect the ecosystem for all of us. It's just not a good thing. It really isn't. I'll be back, guys, with more current world events and how they relate to biblical prophecy. Last night's broadcast with Mike Around the World was incredible. Oh, shoot. Sorry it's very low. It's because I didn't put my microphone on. I am very sorry. It's my bad. Vicky, thank you for letting me know, okay? All right. I'm so sorry about that. It's very, very sorry about that. Crank up the volume. I'll have my microphone on going forward. All right, guys. Love all of you. And I'll be back. Now, last night's show with Mike Around the World was incredible. It was amazing. And I'm going to actually do a couple videos today with a little bit of the highlights from the show. I'll post it right here on YouTube so you can hear some of the highlights from the show last night. just to remind some people who haven't heard the show yet, others are, and some of you have already listened to the whole show live or listened to it right now today. There's 2 or 3 or 4 things that he said that was incredible. That's a highlight that I think needs to be expressed again. We'll talk about that, okay? I'll be back with more on the coming apocalypse. God bless.